On the night of her lavish birthday celebration, Elena, an elegant black woman with everything money could buy, found something her billionaire husband never meant for her to see. The lights, the laughter, the luxury, it was all a perfect lie. And in the shadows of her own home, she uncovered a betrayal that would shatter the woman everyone thought was untouchable. But instead of tears, Elena made a choice, one that no one saw coming. What she did next turned a birthday into a reckoning, and a marriage into a war. Welcome back, my beautiful family and friends. If you're hooked in and you're ready to enjoy this story, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from, because tomorrow, I will be giving you another story just as interesting as this one. And you don't want to miss it. Now let us begin. The roses were perfect. Blood red. Imported. Arranged in a bouquet shaped like a heart. Elena stared at them in silence, her fingertips brushing over the velvet petals like she might wake up from a dream. A card nestled in the center, thick, gold-edged. One sentence written in her husband's familiar script. To the love of my life, happy birthday, Elena. And yet, something was wrong. The entire room shimmered with opulence, dozens of staff buzzing about the villa, finalizing the arrangements for her 38th birthday celebration. Champagne flowed like water. Custom candles flickered in crystal holders. Elena wore the Dior gown Adrian had gifted her last month in Milan, a soft silver that clung to her frame like liquid moonlight. Everyone around her smiled, toasted, complimented her beauty, envied her life. But Elena couldn't shake the chill in her spine. Not after the anonymous email she'd opened that morning. Happy birthday, Elena. You deserve to know the truth. Look in his jacket pocket. 16 words. No sender. No context. Just enough to unravel 12 years of marriage. She stood now in their private bedroom, the party continuing downstairs without her. Adrian's tuxedo jacket hung loosely over a chair near the fireplace. She reached for it, slowly, her hands trembling despite herself. Inside the breast pocket, a receipt. Paris. 2 weeks ago. 1 hotel suite. 2 guests. A bottle of Dom Perignon. A single line written by hand. Thank you for the unforgettable night, C. And next to it, a diamond bracelet. Cartier. Still in the box. Not for her. Not her size. Not her style. Not for her. Her throat tightened. Her mind raced. Was this what 12 years of devotion amounted to? Outside the window, fireworks lit the night sky over the sea. Guests gasped and cheered below. Someone began to sing. And in the corner of the room, Elena stared at the evidence of betrayal on her birthday, heart pounding, memories spinning, rage and heartbreak twisting together like fire and oil. What would you do if you found proof of your partner's affair, on your birthday, in the middle of your own celebration? Would you stay silent, or expose everything? Speech balloon, drop your thoughts in the comments. We're reading every single one. 12 years earlier, Elena had walked into a charity gala in Harlem wearing a borrowed dress and carrying nothing but ambition. She was 26, sharp, stunning, and freshly out of grad school with a degree in international law. Back then, Adrian wasn't a billionaire yet. He was just a charming venture capitalist with too much money and not enough heart, scouting for both investments and attention. Their eyes met over crystal flutes of champagne. She remembered the way he looked at her, as if she were the most impossible woman in the room. That was his superpower. Adrian made you feel chosen, special, singular. And Elena? She wanted to believe she could be loved without shrinking herself. They married 2 years later, in Tuscany. Guests flew in on private jets. Vogue ran a spread titled, "The Power Couple You Didn't See Coming." She gave up a promising legal career to become Mrs. Blackwell, stepping into a world of galas, foundations, and curated public appearances. But what no one saw behind the editorial gloss was this. Elena wanted a family. Adrian didn't. Elena wanted quiet mornings. Adrian wanted headlines. Elena wanted truth. Adrian offered control wrapped in kindness. Over the years, she'd learned to swallow silence like wine, to smile during photo ops, to walk 3 steps behind him at board dinners where her opinion was never asked for, though he loved telling people how brilliant she was. She had wealth, status, The envy of every woman in their circle. But not intimacy. Not truth. Not him. Tonight, standing in their bedroom with the bracelet in her hand, Elena realized something sharp. She had stopped checking for signs. Not because she trusted him completely, but because some part of her had learned, knowing the truth would cost her more than pretending. And now? She was paying the price either way. Downstairs, the music swelled. Her best friend, Jasmine, sent another text. "Where are you? We're about to bring out the cake. Adrian's asking for you." Elena stared at the screen. She could almost picture her husband, tall, perfectly groomed, his smile surgically charming, playing the doting husband, waiting to present her with a custom diamond necklace and a kiss for the cameras. And for the first time in years, she felt like a fool in her own life. Her phone buzzed again. A new message. A known number. "You only saw half the truth. If you want the rest, check the guest list. She's here." Have you ever stayed silent in a relationship, knowing something was wrong, but too afraid of what you'd find if you looked deeper? Speech balloon, let us know in the comments. Your voice matters more than you know. The ballroom lights dimmed. A hush fell over the room as waiters wheeled out the 3-tier birthday cake, white chocolate raspberry, her favorite, dripping with golden sugar flowers and lit by 38 tall candles. "Where's the birthday girl?" someone called playfully. Adrian smiled from the center of the room. Handsome. Confident. Every inch the billionaire husband. He raised a glass. "She's coming." Elena never makes an entrance before the right moment. The crowd laughed. But upstairs, Elena's world was shattering. She stared at the phone again. The message repeated in her mind. "You only saw half the truth. If you want the rest, check the guest list. She's here." She opened the digital RSVP list on her tablet, scrolling past dozens of names she already knew, celebrities, politicians, old friends. And then she saw it. Cassidy Monet, PR consultant, based in Paris. Blonde. Exactly Adrian's type before Elena. She clicked the name. No profile picture. Just a last-minute addition. Registered under Adrian's special invites. Her stomach turned. She didn't know the woman, but her instincts screamed. What kind of mistress shows up to a man's wife's birthday party? A bold one? A deliberately cruel one? Or worse, a confident one? She descended the staircase slowly, pulse pounding behind her ribs like a drum. Every step felt like walking into fire. She reached the ballroom just as Adrian spotted her. His eyes lit up too quickly, too rehearsed. He crossed the room to take her hand. "Elena," he said, lowering his voice, "you look breathtaking." He leaned in to kiss her. She turned her cheek. "Where's Cassidy?" she asked too quietly for anyone else to hear. Adrian froze. Just a flicker. A muscle in his jaw twitched. His smile stayed frozen for half a second too long. But Elena had lived 12 years with this man. She saw it. "Cassandra," he said smoothly. "She's in PR, works with global brands. I invited a few reps tonight, thought you'd like to network." She laughed once, sharp and quiet. Then she walked past him, straight toward the crowd. Cassidy stood near the bar. Some ice blonde hair in a sleek bun. Dressed in black satin, like she was walking a red carpet, not attending another woman's birthday. Their eyes met. Elena's diamond heels clicked on marble like a countdown. Cassidy smiled. Too poised. Too knowing. Like they weren't strangers at all. "Elena Blackwell," Cassidy said softly, extending a manicured hand. "Happy birthday. It's such an honor to meet you." Elena didn't take her hand. Just looked her in the eyes and said, "Is the bracelet comfortable?" Cassidy blinked. That was all. Just a blink. But in it, everything broke. The room hushed. Someone had noticed. Adrian moved toward them. Cassidy opened her mouth, but Elena raised a hand. "You came all the way from Paris," Elena said evenly. "Just to watch him lie again?" The music kept playing. But no one was dancing anymore. People were watching now. Whispers began. "Elena, don't," Adrian said under his breath, reaching for her arm. She pulled away. "No, let's not ruin the party," she said louder now, voice cutting through the noise like a violin string. "Let's make a toast." She grabbed a glass of champagne, lifted it high. To Adrian Blackwell, she said, eyes locked on her husband. My loving, loyal husband, who gave me 12 years, 2 proposals, and one side chick who wears my birthday bracelet better than I would've. The room went silent. Someone gasped. Cassidy turned pale. Adrian's face drained of all color. The glass shook in Elena's hand, but her voice stayed steady. Let's drink, she said, smiling now. Because after tonight, the masks come off. The silence that followed Elena's toast hung in the air like thick smoke. The ballroom, once buzzing with laughter and luxury, was now a graveyard of frozen smiles and shifting eyes. Adrian stood there, jaw clenched, as Cassidy's icy composure began to crack. She tried to slip away, but too many eyes were watching now. The music stuttered, someone cut it off entirely, and the party was officially over. Elena, Adrian hissed under his breath, stepping closer. You need to come with me. Now. She didn't move. But. So you can control the narrative like you always do. Elena, please. Don't do this here. She finally turned to face him fully. Her voice dropped to a whisper, but her tone was lethal. You brought her here. To my birthday. Into my home. Adrian's expression twisted. You don't know what you're talking about. You're lying, she snapped. Again. Cassidy had vanished into the crowd. The PR consultant was smart enough to know when a storm was no longer survivable. Elena, let's talk somewhere private, Adrian said, reaching for her arm again. This time she let him take it, but not because she trusted him. Because she needed answers. Elena stood across from Adrian in the same room where the bracelet had first shattered her illusion of their life together. The evidence still sat on the table, cold, sparkling, damning. Talk, she said. Adrian ran a hand through his hair, his mask of charm finally beginning to crumble. It wasn't what you think. It was a mistake. One night, I was in Paris for business. She was a rep at the hotel. She's not a hotel employee, Elena interrupted. She's a registered guest. You bought her a first-class flight to attend my party. You gave her jewelry and called her in a love note. Adrian went quiet. And for the first time in a long time, Elena saw him clearly. Not the charming mogul. Not the philanthropic husband. Just a coward with a god complex and too many secrets. How long? She asked. Adrian looked at the floor. How long, Adrian? His voice was barely audible. A few months. Her heart dropped. So not just Paris. No. And I'm supposed to believe she's the only one? He didn't answer. That was answer enough. Elena let out a bitter laugh, tears threatening to rise but refusing to fall. You're unbelievable. Elena, please, don't let this destroy everything we've built. She turned on him with fury. We didn't build anything, Adrian. I did. I built the brand. I curated the image. I stood beside you through every scandal and smiled through every insult. And all the while, you were screwing someone who probably doesn't even know your middle name. His voice grew harder. You're angry. I get it. But don't throw away 12 years. 12 years of lies. No. 12 years of power. We have everything, Elena. She shook her head slowly. You don't get it. I never wanted all of this if it meant losing myself. Then Yanak. They both froze. Elena. It was Jasmine. Everyone's leaving. Are you okay? She glanced at Adrian. Give me a minute. He nodded, jaw still clenched, eyes colder than she'd ever seen them. After he left, she opened the door. Jasmine stepped in, her face pale with shock and concern. What the hell just happened? Elena didn't answer right away. She walked to the bar cart, poured a small glass of bourbon, straight, no ice, and downed it in one swallow. Then she looked at her best friend. I exposed him. I gathered that, Jasmine said gently. Are you okay? Elena sat on the edge of the bed. Her voice was quieter now. I don't know. Jasmine moved to sit beside her. I always knew something was off about him. The way he watched everyone. Like he was always 10 steps ahead. I ignored it, Elena admitted. I kept telling myself it was business. That we were a team. You were. He just wasn't playing the same game. Elena looked down. Her hands were shaking. Jasmine hesitated. "There's something you need to see." She pulled out her phone and showed Elena a photo. Cassidy, not just in Paris, but in Lake Como, 6 months ago, during a men's-only investor retreat Adrian had said he was attending. Cassidy in sunglasses, poolside. Her hand brushing against Adrian's in the reflection of a wine glass. Undeniable. "You've been holding this?" Elena whispered. "I didn't want to hurt you. I hoped I was wrong." "You weren't." That night, Elena didn't sleep. She walked the halls of the estate barefoot, the echo of her own footsteps haunting her. She walked past the baby room, the one they'd decorated 5 years ago during her brief pregnancy. The one that ended in miscarriage and silence. Adrian had never wanted children. She'd buried the pain. Another sacrifice. Everything she'd swallowed for the sake of image, empire, and equality felt like acid now. She paused at the window, watching Adrian through the glass as he sat alone in the garden, staring into the fire pit. No phone. No lies. Just a man slowly realizing his kingdom was crumbling. But something inside her said this wasn't over. Not yet. At 3:47 a.m., a new message hit her phone. Unknown number again. "He's hiding more. If you want real truth, check the villa security footage from 3 nights ago." Her breath caught. The system was password protected. Only Adrian had access. But she remembered something. Jasmine's brother, Terrence, was an IT analyst. A good one. And he owed Jasmine a favor. She picked up the phone. "It's Elena. I need a digital favor. Urgent. And private." Have you ever had the feeling that what you discovered was just the tip of the iceberg? When the lies go deeper, how far would you go to uncover the whole truth? Speech balloon, let us know in the comments. The truth always comes out, but at what cost? "I don't just want the video," Elena said. "I want everything he's hidden." Terrence sat at her kitchen table the next morning, rubbing sleep from his eyes while his laptop hummed. Jasmine stood behind him, arms folded, trying to read Elena's face as the footage decrypted. Adrian had left the villa early that morning. His team said he had urgent business in Dubai. Elena knew that was a lie. He was fleeing. From her. From the fallout. From what she might discover next. The silence stretched long as Terrence worked. Finally, a progress bar hit 100%, and the villa's security archive unlocked. Weeks of surveillance footage filled the screen. Clean hallways, quiet gardens, uneventful staff movement. But then, Terrence frowned. 3 nights ago. Someone disabled 3 external cameras at 2:14 a.m. for exactly 12 minutes. Disabled? Elena asked. Manually. From inside the system. Someone wanted a blind spot. Her stomach turned. "Can you pull indoor feeds?" He nodded. Already running facial recognition crossmatch. Jasmine looked at Elena. "Do you think Cassidy broke in?" Elena shook her head. "No. I think Adrian let someone in." A beep. The screen flashed. A new clip loaded. 2:18 a.m. Library room camera. The footage showed Adrian pacing the library in a black robe, barefoot, sipping from a glass. The door creaked open. Cassidy entered. Elena's face hardened. But then, another figure followed her in. A man. Not just any man. Elena leaned forward, squinting at the frame. It was Marcus Duval, Adrian's CFO, his best friend. The same man who had stood beside Adrian at their wedding. Who toasted to forever at every anniversary. Who had once confided to Elena that Adrian was the most loyal man he knew. In the video, Marcus closed the door behind him and locked it. Then Adrian did something that made Elena gasp. He handed over a folder. Confidential. Cassidy opened it. Marcus flipped through the pages. They began to argue. Heated gestures. Whispering. Tension. And then, Cassidy slapped Adrian. He didn't fight back. He let her. Then he kissed her. Right there. In front of Marcus. And Marcus didn't even flinch. Elena stared at the screen, her heart pounding. Jasmine whispered, "What the hell is happening?" Terrence spoke slowly. That wasn't just a lover's argument. That was a business exchange. He zoomed in, froze the frame. The folder was labeled Project Morrow, Phase 3 Acquisitions / Cayman Transfers. Elena's blood ran cold. That was one of their shell corporations, a name she had seen on property deeds and investment transfers, but Adrian had always brushed it off. Nothing you need to worry about, babe. She stared at the video. Cassidy. Marcus. Adrian. Confidential files. A private meeting in the middle of the night. This wasn't just infidelity. This was a conspiracy. Terrence clicked a few more keys. If I can decrypt the metadata, I might find out where those documents went next. Jasmine asked, "What's in them?" Elena whispered, "I don't know. But if Adrian's hiding them from me and letting his mistress and CFO handle it at 2 a.m., it's not clean." She stood, adrenaline surging. "They're laundering money." Terrence nodded. "Or moving assets. Offshore. Maybe setting up something new. Without you." Jasmine froze. "You think Adrian's planning to leave you? Cut you out?" "No," Elena said slowly. "I think he's planning to replace me." The room went still. And in that silence, 1,000 past moments snapped into focus. Adrian rushing to change the subject whenever she asked about their estate in Morocco. Cassidy showing up at the investor summit Elena was too sick to attend. Marcus suddenly withdrawing from their shared philanthropy project 2 months ago. They were positioning Cassidy as her replacement, publicly and privately. Later that evening, Elena sat in the nursery. The room smelled like lavender and old paint. The tiny rocking chair sat untouched. The baby clothes, still folded neatly in drawers, felt like artifacts from a parallel life. She closed her eyes and whispered, "You almost made me a mother, Adrian. And now you're trying to erase me." Then, her phone buzzed again. A known number. "They'll use the scandal to destroy your image. They've been planning this for months. She's not just his affair. She's the future face of your brand. Unless you act fast." Elena's eyes narrowed. Who was feeding her these messages? 2 hours later, she confronted Marcus. In his office. After hours. He wasn't surprised to see her. "Elena." "Don't Elena me," she said, shutting the door behind her. He exhaled. "You saw the video." She nodded. Marcus stood, adjusting his sleeves. "It's not what you think." She laughed once, hollow. "Stop saying that. It's exactly what I think. What I see. What I feel." He stepped closer. "Cassidy is dangerous, Elena. You think she's just a mistress? She's a weapon. A corporate puppet. She's being paid, heavily, to bury you." Elena flinched. "Paid by who?" "Not just Adrian. Investors. Stakeholders. They think you're a liability now." Her face went pale. "They're flipping the narrative," Marcus said. "Making you the unhinged wife. The liability. The angry black woman who lost her mind and ruined her own empire." Elena's fists clenched. "They think if you go quietly, they'll pay you off and move on. But if you fight..." She raised her chin. "Then I burn it all down." What's worse, being cheated on, or being erased? When betrayal goes beyond love and becomes a power play, what would you do? Speech balloon, drop your thoughts below. Would you walk away with dignity, or fight for everything they tried to steal? The storm outside mirrored the one inside her. Rain pounded against the villa's windows like fists demanding to be heard. Wind ripped through the trees lining the cliffside, howling like a warning. And inside her dimmed bedroom, Elena sat on the floor, barefoot, still in the silver gown from the night before, her makeup smudged, eyes burning from exhaustion and betrayal. The bracelet lay beside her, still in its red Cartier box. She hadn't thrown it, hadn't smashed it. She simply couldn't bring herself to touch it anymore. It wasn't a gift. It was a weapon. A reminder. It had been 27 hours since she exposed Adrian. Since Cassidy disappeared. Since Marcus admitted the truth. Since the stranger who was once her husband vanished across the Atlantic. She hadn't eaten. Barely slept. Her lawyers had called 4 times. Publicists, 7. Even her mother had left a voicemail, half concerned, half ashamed. "Elena, I saw the headlines. Call me." Please, don't let them turn you into a spectacle. Too late for that. TMZ had already leaked footage from the party. The bracelet toast was being replayed across the internet like a movie clip. Twitter called her the Ice Queen. Others crowned her a hero, a meme, a villain. And Adrian? He was nowhere. Not a word. Not a statement. He was letting her drown. Her phone buzzed again. Another headline. Billionaire Adrian Blackwell's wife melts down at birthday gala. Sources confirm separation. Another push notification. Cassidy Monet seen boarding private jet to Geneva. No comment on allegations. Elena turned the phone face down. Her empire, her image, her identity, all of it was crumbling. But what hurt most wasn't the betrayal. It wasn't even the public shaming. It was the private realization that she had lost herself. 12 years ago, she was Elena James, a fiery, outspoken black woman with a law degree, natural curls, and a voice sharp enough to shatter boardrooms. And now? She was Elena Blackwell. Curated. Polished. Photoshopped. Muted. She'd shrunk herself to fit into Adrian's world. She'd traded her fire for elegance. Her instincts for image. Her fight for silence. And for what? To be replaced by a woman with lighter skin and lighter morals? To be erased from the company she helped build? She stood slowly and looked in the mirror. Her reflection startled her. Bloodshot eyes. Mascara smudged like bruises. Hair once coiled with pride now straightened, flattened, lifeless. "Who are you?" she whispered. The door creaked open. Jasmine entered quietly, carrying a tray of tea and toast. "You haven't eaten," she said softly. Elena didn't look away from the mirror. "He's going to win." "No, he's not. They're going to paint me as the unstable wife, the angry black woman. And they'll believe it. Every investor. Every outlet. They'll believe it because it's easier than believing the man they worship is a manipulative liar." Jasmine set the tray down. "Then let them. Burn it all." Elena turned. "And what's left when the smoke clears?" Jasmine stepped forward. "Just you. No scripts. No filters. No more lies." Elena fell into her friend's arms, the dam finally breaking. Her shoulders shook with silent sobs. Jasmine held her tight. "I don't care if you burn this entire damn city to the ground, though. I just want you whole again." That night, when the rain died down, Elena sat alone with a bottle of wine and her wedding video. She hadn't watched it in years. On screen they laughed. She looked so young. So full of dreams. He whispered something in her ear as they swayed beneath the Tuscan stars. "I'll never lie to you. Never betray you. Not in this life. Not in any life." She paused the video, rewound it, played it again. The words that would come to mean nothing. And then, as the screen faded to black, her phone buzzed again. A known number. One final message. "He's already moved your name off the holding account. You have 72 hours before everything you helped him build disappears." It wasn't just her reputation on the line anymore. It was her legacy. Her shares. Her stake. Her blood in that company. She threw the wine glass across the room. It shattered like her heart, loud, sharp, irreparable. She had nothing left to lose. And that was her power. The next morning, she woke up with a plan. No makeup. No stylist. No curated smile. She stepped into her office with Jasmine at her side and told her team, "Get me every file Adrian Blackwell has ever signed with my name on it. I want accounts, transfers, property deeds. If it has my blood in it, I want it on my desk in an hour." She opened her laptop and began drafting a press release. "My name is Elena James Blackwell. And I've been silent for too long." Her voice trembled at first. But as the words flowed, so did her power. No longer a victim. No longer a wife. No longer a figurehead in someone else's empire. She was becoming the storm. Have you ever hit a point so low, so dark, that you questioned everything about yourself? And when the smoke cleared, what rose from your wreckage? Speech balloon, drop your story in the comments. Someone out there needs to hear it. The villa felt different now. Colder. Emptier. Like a museum of a life Elena had already walked away from. The staff moved quietly, respectfully. No one spoke about the party, or Adrian, or the chaos that unfolded. Elena knew most of them were afraid they'd lose their jobs if the power couple fell apart. But what none of them knew was that Elena had already made her decision. She was done playing the quiet, polished wife. She had spent too long whispering in rooms where she should have been roaring. The morning sun broke through the clouds for the first time in days as Elena stood by the massive glass doors, sipping her espresso. Hair wrapped in a silk scarf. Wearing nothing but a robe and the resolve of a woman reborn. Jasmine stepped in holding a folder. "Terrence came through," she said, handing it over. Elena opened it slowly. Inside, paper trails, wire transfers, contracts, all connected to Project Morrow, the secret venture Adrian had been building behind her back. With Cassidy as the face. With her stake being moved, sliced, erased. There it was in black and white. Adrian had begun the legal process to transfer her shares into a subsidiary she didn't control. He planned to phase her out of the company by December. She'd be left with a severance package and a carefully worded PR statement. Elena Blackwell is stepping away to focus on family and personal wellness. Family. The one they never had. Wellness. The lie he'd used to make her sound unstable. Jasmine said, voice shaking slightly, "He's going to try and erase you." Elena closed the folder. "No," she replied, standing taller now. "He already tried. Now I erase him." She called her attorney, Leyland, a legal powerhouse with a reputation for being both brilliant and utterly ruthless. By noon, Layla was sitting across from her in the private study. "You waited too long," Layla said bluntly. "But not too long to strike." Elena nodded. "He's taken everything I built. Used my image, my voice, my network. But the one thing he doesn't have." Layla raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" "The truth. And I'm going to make it public." The plan began to form like lightning across a war map. Layla filed an injunction to freeze the transfer of Elena's holdings, using the video footage, the midnight meeting, and the illegal asset moves as grounds for breach of fiduciary duty. Elena scheduled an interview with Sasha Lee, a renowned journalist known for exposing corporate corruption. A woman of color who understood exactly what it meant to have your narrative twisted. Terrence hacked Cassidy's encrypted messaging app. What he found? Screenshots, conversations, financial deals, promises of Elena's quiet exit. One message from Cassidy to Adrian read, "Once she's out, I'll handle the board. They already like me more. She's always too emotional." That was all Elena needed. The night before the interview, she walked through her home one last time, touching the framed photos, the designer furniture, the symbols of a life curated to perfection. It had been beautiful. It had also been a cage. She stopped by the nursery again. Opened the closet. Inside hung a tiny onesie. With the words, "Made with love by Elena." She closed her eyes and held it to her chest. The baby they lost wasn't just a tragedy. It was a mirror of everything else Adrian had taken without remorse. This time, she wouldn't let him take anything else. Elena arrived at the studio wearing a tailored white suit. No flashy logos. No diamonds. Her hair was back in her natural coils, full and proud. Her face was bare, no mask, no gloss. She looked straight into the camera. "I'm not here to be pitted," she said as the camera rolled. "I'm here to tell the truth. Not just about a marriage, but about the cost of silence. About the way women, especially black women, are erased in boardrooms, in headlines, in their own homes." She breathed in deeply. "My husband had an affair. That's not news. That's human failure. But he didn't stop there. He used my name to build an empire, and then tried to push me out of it. Quietly. Legally. Strategically. Because that's how power works when it's threatened. It erases." Sasha leaned in. "And what do you want now?" Elena didn't hesitate. "Everything. And peace. And to never be silenced again." The interview aired 48 hours later. It went viral within minutes. The internet exploded in support. "Fire Elena Blackwell is a masterclass in grace and fire. I would have burned the whole place down." Crown, she gave him power. He gave her betrayal. She gave the world truth. Megaphone, this is why women need to own their own empires. Broken heart, the system wasn't built to protect women like her. She's rebuilding one that will. Board members from the company began calling. Lawyers backed off. Cassidy deleted her social media. And Adrian? He resurfaced 2 days later with a press release. I regret deeply the pain my personal choices have caused. I will be stepping away from my leadership role indefinitely to reflect on my actions and allow the company to heal. It was weak. It was too late. Elena didn't even respond publicly. She didn't need to. The world already knew who the real Blackwell was now. Have you ever found your voice after being silenced for too long? What was the moment you knew you couldn't stay quiet anymore? Speech balloons, share your story in the comments. Someone out there needs your courage today. The private jet touched down at the villa's helipad just after midnight. Adrian Blackwell had returned. Word traveled fast. A staff member texted Jasmine. Jasmine texted Elena. He's here. Alone. Elena closed her laptop and rose from her desk with quiet precision. There was no trembling now. No firestorm of emotions. Just stillness. The kind of stillness a woman learns only after surviving the worst. She changed into a sleek black dress, structured, minimal, powerful. No jewelry. No drama. Only presence. She walked barefoot down the long hallway to the same room where everything had begun, the private library. Adrian was there, standing by the fireplace, nursing a glass of whiskey, like he hadn't spent the last week hiding behind publicists and silence. When he saw her, he straightened. Elena. Don't, she said simply. The room stilled again. He set his glass down. I know you're angry. I know I hurt you. She didn't answer. I never meant for it to go this far. Cassidy was a mistake. But everything else, this company, this life, we built it together. No, Elena said quietly. I built it. You exploited it. His jaw flexed. You think you can paint me as the villain? After everything we've done together? I'm not painting anything. I'm just finally showing people the full picture. He stepped closer. You didn't have to go public. You didn't have to cheat. He flinched. You didn't have to lie. You didn't have to try and erase me. You could have walked away like a man. But you chose to destroy me quietly, so you could keep my shine without my voice. He exhaled sharply. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that, she cut in, voice hard now. You wanted the trophy wife for the cover of Forbes, the black queen for your diversity optics, the polished presence beside you at board meetings, but you never wanted the woman who told you no. Adrian moved to speak again, but she didn't let him. You wanted Cassidy because she's easy. Because she nods when you talk. Because she'll let you control her. I loved you, Elena. You loved owning me. Silence. She took a slow step toward him, her voice soft now, laced with steel. You know what's funny, Adrian? You thought you were breaking me. That by the time I found out, I'd be too weak, too humiliated, too scared to fight. He stayed quiet. But what you didn't count on, she said, stepping closer, was that betrayal becomes clarity. And clarity becomes freedom. And freedom. She smiled. Freedom makes me dangerous. Adrian's expression darkened. This is war now? He asked. She tilted her head. No. War would mean you're a threat. You're not. He stepped back slightly. You can't destroy me without destroying the company. She nodded slowly. True. And I don't want to destroy the company. I want to rebuild it, without you. He laughed once. You think the board will choose you over me? They already have. He froze. I met with them. Yesterday. With evidence. With testimony. With your texts. Your attempt to move my shares was a direct breach of contract. You tried to steal intellectual property I co-founded. Cassidy sent board members manipulated forecasts to weaken my position. All illegal. All documented. Adrian's face lost all color. She continued, calmly. Effective tomorrow, I'm CEO of Blackwell Global Holdings. You're being removed from the board. Your name is being detached from every major property we co-owned. You keep your trust fund and your offshore accounts, but the empire. She leaned in. The empire stays with me. He stared at her like he didn't recognize the woman standing before him. And maybe he didn't, because this wasn't the Elena he could manipulate. This was the Elena who had finally remembered who she was before him. Adrian spoke again, his voice quieter now. You planned all this? She met his eyes. No. You did. When you chose Cassidy. When you chose greed. When you underestimated me. He ran a hand through his hair. You'll be alone. I already was. He swallowed. I'm sorry. I believe you. And I forgive you. Her voice cracked just slightly. But I will never trust you again. And I will never need you again. He turned away then, shoulders sinking. For the first time in years, Adrian Blackwell looked small. And Elena? She had never felt bigger. Not because she won. Not because she took the empire. But because she didn't need to destroy him to save herself. She simply walked away. She left the library without looking back. Outside, the night air was cool. The sky stretched endlessly above her. Jasmine was waiting by the car. Was it done? She asked softly. Elena nodded. It's done. The next morning, headlines broke. Elena James Blackwell named new CEO in sudden Blackwell Holdings shakeup. Adrian Blackwell steps down amid internal investigation. Cassidy Monet under SEC review for fraudulent forecasting. But Elena didn't watch the news. She was already booking a flight to Ghana, her first vacation in over 8 years. No phones. No cameras. Just peace. She packed lightly. She wore her hair natural. And she smiled. Not the smile of a woman escaping something, but the smile of a woman finally returning to herself. What does it really mean to win after betrayal? Is it revenge, or is it reclaiming your peace, your voice, your power? Speech Balloon, let us know in the comments. Victory looks different for everyone. What does it look like for you? 6 months later. The ocean was louder in Ghana. Wilder. Realer. Elena stood barefoot on the soft golden sand of Cape Coast, a linen dress billowing around her knees. The sun kissed her skin with quiet warmth, and the scent of salt and palm trees filled the air. She hadn't checked her email in 5 days. Hadn't worn heels in 3 weeks. Hadn't spoken to Adrian since that final night. And she felt free. Not just out of a marriage free. But soul deep, I remember whom kind of free. She walked down the shore slowly, every step grounding her in the earth. She wasn't running anymore. There were no whispers here. No board meetings. No cameras. Just breath, water, and truth. The ocean had always been honest. Behind her, a small villa overlooked the beach, a modest place by her old standards, but filled with something money could never buy. Jasmine was inside, probably playing music or making another tropical smoothie. Layla had flown in 2 days ago, just to check on her, even though she swore she'd only stay for 1 night. She was still here. Elena had created a new kind of circle now, one made of real women, real truth, and real love. And even though the wounds still ached some days, they no longer controlled her. The company thrived under her leadership. She rebranded it. The James Group: justice, access, money, equity, sustainability. She removed the statues. Hired women of color into top executive roles. Launched a fund for single black mothers starting businesses. Refused any investor who tried to whitewash her message. And when Forbes asked for another power couple spread, she declined with a single line. I didn't need to be part of a power couple. I am the power. Adrian? He was seen once or twice in the tabloids, tired, withdrawn, still trying to hold on to what he hadn't created. Cassidy? Facing 2 lawsuits. Rumor had it she fled to Ibiza. But Elena didn't gloat. Because healing isn't revenge. It's release. One morning, while journaling by the window, Elena wrote, "He didn't break me. He revealed me." She smiled at the words, closed the journal, and realized she didn't need to write another word about him. Her story wasn't about betrayal anymore. It was about rebirth. 2 weeks before she left Ghana, she visited the Cape Coast Castle, the historic slave fort. As she walked through the underground chambers where her ancestors once stood in chains, she wept. For them. For herself. For every black woman who had ever been silenced, erased, controlled, betrayed. But as she stood in the door of no return, looking out over the endless sea, she whispered, "I returned." Because she had. Not just physically. Not just spiritually. But generationally. She broke the cycle. She would never again belong to a man, an image, or a lie. On her last night in Ghana, the women in the village invited her to a bonfire ceremony. They danced barefoot under the stars, their laughter blending with the drumbeat of the earth. Elena joined them, unsure at first. But then she let go. She danced. She laughed. She lived. One of the elders pulled her aside at the end of the night. "You are no longer carrying fire," the woman said in a thick, melodic accent. "You are the fire. Let it burn away the past. And light the way forward." Back home, months later, Elena sat in a small studio space in Harlem. No villa. No diamonds. Just a vision board. A laptop. A team of young women. A dream. She was launching a mentorship incubator called Herstory Unedited, a space for women to reclaim their voices, rewrite their narratives, and rise. On the wall hung a single photo. Not of her and Adrian. Not of her old mansion. But of Elena at age 23, laughing with wild curls and ink-stained hands. She smiled. That girl had never left. She just took the long way home. And one evening, while closing up the studio, her phone buzzed. A message from Jasmine. "Look what you started." Attached was a video. Thousands of women, marching in cities across the country, holding signs that read, "We are not erasable. Unmute her. Reclaiming my name, my body, my story." Elena watched in silence. Tears ran down her face. Not from pain. But from legacy. What if your darkest moment was never meant to destroy you, but to reveal you? Who would you become if you stopped hiding, stopped shrinking, and reclaimed your voice? Speech balloon, drop your reflections in the comments. Elena's story may be fiction, but the fight to reclaim your truth? That's real. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one. Please tell us how we can serve you better. We will be so happy to hear from you. Thank you.